One of the curious things I find about the people in the truth movement is that they don't like to be called anything. They're very antsy about being called something. And it had me thinking about this matter because since I've become a Christian, I often find myself saying that I am a Christian, or I will say I believe the Bible, for example, sometimes. Um, I'm a little bit uh, unwilling to be taken for one of the kind of there's a kind of image of Christian people which is slightly negative, I think. So I sometimes try to give an idea that I don't fit into that mainstream, but I mean I am a Christian and that's what I am. And my values come from the Bible. I often have to premise it, but people generally don't. Now, I think one of the reasons is that people tend to assume people who haven't really examined, you know, their position, the whole philosophical concept of reality and such matters. They just assume that they're normal, and anybody who doesn't think the same way broadly that they do is obviously some kind of a weirdo. Right? That seems to be quite a standard understanding, and it's quite wrong, of course, because when people make an argument, they're making an argument because they're standing on some kind of a philosophical platform always, but it's just not acknowledged, is it? That it's people will just assume that they are speaking, based on logic or based on some kind of irrefutable fact, but they're not. Absolutely, we all stand. You have to choose the, the ground upon which you stand, and of course, I would say if you're not standing on the ground at the foot of the cross, really, you're not standing anywhere that's worth standing. But I mean, people do stand on it on different terrains and have stood there for many centuries, and they live and die as do we all. So that's just my Christian belief that would tell me that. But in the truth movement in particular, they're very antsy about being called anything. Um, it's no good calling them New Age people because they hate that. I've noticed that's one of the most hated ones. You can sometimes get away with pagan if they are of that, certain types, but even pagan will, you'll get a bit of eye rolling there. It's quite tedious because, of course, the set of beliefs they are New Agers. That's the fact of the matter. That really does describe them quite well. And the objection to New Age was, well, it's not new at all, is it? These are ancient ideas. But I don't think that's what I think the New Age idea is that these ancient ideas are going to re-flourish in current times. And there will be a new age of spiritual enlightenment based on archaic, principles and ravens and new moons and such matters. There's a great deal of ignorance about these things. There's no question, really, is there? People just can't be bothered to look carefully at their premises. And so we should, be prepared to say, the opinions that I'm going to give you, or the ideas, the way that I'm going to filter reality is because I believe in X, Y, and Z. If people started doing that, I think they'd have to think quite deeply about many things, wouldn't they? We think, oh, I just don't have religion. I don't believe in any kind of religion. I mean, again, that is, That position of skepticism is, it's a philosophical uh, basis for your thinking. It's not neutral, you see, to reject anything spiritual and to only focus on the sort of the material world and the brain and such matters. That is an actual position that you're taking, and you should try to. I think people that take that position, they need to examine it carefully and speak in recognition of that, the position that they've assumed. It will colour their understanding of everything, of course, as does our Christianity. Everything really can be viewed through a Christian lens, can't it? And in fact should be. So, it's an interesting thing, is it not?